my things without further ado. You know you're kind of on territory when you start using other phrases like that, but the long and short of it is today, as I've said, we're going to whiz through a couple of talks, but the idea is really to get you guys talking to each other. So we're going to step into Hope's Creative Showcase. So Hope, it's over to you.
Because I can't be candid and just read it off like other people, and I will just go on.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's going on.
So, just in case I haven't spoken to you or you're bad at remembering names, my name's Hope. Disclaimer, I am a top waffler, so I will be really impressed if I get through this without going over the 20 seconds. This is my logo. I chose a little bit of hope because it's about time I got some good use out of my name, and I had a wicket called Rocks, and she was gorgeous, hence the dog illustration. I can't remember a time where making art and drawing wasn't my favourite thing to do, as you can see. And before I start, I'd just like to say that I'm very much so still on my journey, and this is more a talk on not giving up where you want to be. My path has been a roller coaster ride, and this is my grandparents. So it might seem a bit random, but I feel like they've really shaped who I am today. They adopted me at the age of 2. I'm extremely grateful for them, and they're an amazing pair. That's us now, and that's us when I was really small. Still got the curly hair, that's where I get it from. And then I went to university after school and all that stuff. I studied magazine journalism. I really enjoyed the writing and the layer aspects of the degree, and I went on to intern at Grazia, which was exactly like The Devil Wears Prada. It was horrendous. And unlike a lot of people, I didn't want to go to London, but I wanted to stay here in West Sussex. So after uni, I started writing blogs for a local tech recruitment company. I don't have any pictures, which is why I have rocks up there. And I got into marketing, and the longest I lasted was 4 months in a 9-to-5 job, and the shortest I lasted was 2 days. So I felt very lost, which is why when the pandemic hit, I started doing weddings, which was really stupid because there was no weddings. All of them had been cancelled, but that's what I did. And whilst grooming surprised me a nightmare, I actually really enjoyed doing it and earning money doing something that's a bit more creative. And then I went on to doing doghouse and people portraits. A friend of mine asked for one for her sister-in-law for her dog. And whilst it's not my favourite thing to do, it was really nice to bring things to life that mean something to people, but it didn't quite satisfy me, so I started doing other crazy things like brightly coloured drawings of dogs and places. So we've got Chai, we've got Bogner, and colour is just very me, which is why I've always got bright clothes on. They make me happy, and I love to put a spin on real places without their colour palettes. So in the space of 2020 and 2021, I was a teaching assistant, I was a postie. Don't become a postwoman, it is horrendous. My banana went mouldy, there was loads of random stuff going on. But then I found the track, which is based here in Bognor Regis, and I really felt like I found myself. I found my people, I found all these creative people, and this was it on the grand opening. But I still had choice paralysis. I was like, what am I doing with my life? But I still had, I think having that community is really important, and finding your people, so even if you don't know what you want to do. And then I ended up working with James, who sat over there, and I started to put myself out of my comfort zone, and it was just really lovely, and I was able to put on events like this, wearing more bright coloured trousers, just really being a cheerleader for people, the sort of thing I needed when I first started out. And to be honest, I don't know where I am now, so I'm just going to wing it. And this is Seaglow, so we've got Naomi here. Rachel's on holiday, lucky her. Rachel poached me from the track. I was working the track, and she was like, do you want to work for us? And I was like, yeah, okay, that's cool. So I left James, but I haven't actually left him, so I still work with him quite a lot. And we just do some really cool things. And then 4 hours a week, I work for a BSL company. I'm learning British Sign Language. It's really awesome, and I really think it's an important thing we need to do, because deaf people don't choose to be deaf, right? I can say like a few things in French and Spanish, but they're not very handy in day-to-day life, whereas BSL, and that's me again with my children's book. So I actually met Ginny through, she wrote and drew all of the pictures in her children's picture book, and it's basically about helping adults raise lovely little humans that don't compare each other and embrace our differences, and that's some pictures from it. No, I need to breathe. But yeah, it's full of dogs, it's full of bright colours, it's basically like trying to make it as exciting for kids as possible, but also has those underlying messages that I would have needed when I was growing up, because adults used to treat me differently because I was adopted and they didn't know what to do with me, basically. And then I was building up my portfolio because I realised I have a lot of pictures of dogs, but not a lot of people. So much to my granddad's unapproval, because I don't think it was very impressive, that one. It's great. But yeah, I was writing for kids, I was drawing for kids, and then I went to London Book Fair, and I was actually like, I enjoy writing for adults, and I enjoy drawing things for adults as well, and I think there's a child in all of us. I actually could use my slide notes, but I can't remember what it is. But basically, I realised I wanted to start writing this book about people like me who are adopted and then just sort of pushed out into the world. You're like, what am I doing in my life? Like, there's a lot of stuff that comes with being an adult anyway, but being an adult where you struggle with your identity. So I wanted to create something with pictures that create this sense of joy and nostalgia and calm. And these are just some random bits that I've done over the last year. I did the owl. I helped Andrew Griffith, who's a counsellor, I helped him choose a Christmas card for his winner last year. Went to BBC Sussex to talk about my book, and then I did a small owl. All very exciting. And then this is basically just being away, and I'm just remember that whatever journey that you're on, we're all on these crazy journeys. It's not linear. There's loads of complicated things that come with life, and just enjoy it and enjoy your best. And I think that's the best thing that we can basically do in life, is just enjoy it and
enjoy the ride.
Thank you so much, Hope. That was amazing.
I'm breathing.
20 seconds, 20 slides.
That's really hard.
That was amazing, given that you only had 19 slides at the close of play yesterday.
That first one, it's fine.
It was brilliant, thank you. Right, I'm just going to put the agenda back on.
There you go.
So, Adam,
Yes.
shall we chat? Yeah, let's bring the chairs up. So when we said fireside chat style, which just kind of meant shorthand, we'll just sit and have a natter rather than PowerPoint slides or anything like that. So then these two armchairs appeared amongst all of these tables, and it was like, oh, actually, that will work. So should we bring those out? I don't mind, yeah. We'll just bring these in here.
I was at home while I was doing it. I was on the fine.
So I'm going to give you a quick intro to Adam, and then we're going to hear about Adam's remarkable business, which, it really is.
Yeah, sell it. Carry on a bit.
So, okay, here's the official blurb from the website. So, Adam's worked in the office supplies industry for over 20 years, giving him a vast insight into the different models that exist and operate in the sector. So this is what's really interesting, particularly if you're a creative person, as all of us here are. How do people do things differently in different spaces or adjacent spaces? That's a bit that all of us have got a little bit of curiosity about that. So Adam has got a very specific take on what he does. And Reading, the business that you created, which you'll tell us about in a minute, is much more than stationery and office supplies. It's about purpose, people, change and progress. Okay, tell us more. So, question number one, can you tell us about the business? How did you get started in it, and what exactly is it?
So, So I could talk all day about this, but so I was in the office supplies industry, and I fell into that, and I found out I was a really good salesman. It was in the old days, and it was a lot of like telesales.
Okay.
And that really sucked, and it wasn't something I was at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't fulfilling. I had no interest in doing that. Really.
And did you actually do telesales?
I did for a bit, yeah. I worked out that it was far better to go and see people and talk to people.
Yeah.
I'm much more of a sort of people person. And I worked out that if you went and spoke to people and you had, and you were authentic, and you were genuine, and you wanted to solve their problems, it was far easier than just saying we were selling stationery. But the difficulty is that the stationery industry was built on a price model, so it's a commodity sector. It's almost like the pilot high and sell it cheap.
Yeah.
So when you look at a business model like that, there was nothing at all other than that. We want it cheap and we want it tomorrow.
Okay.
And I completely disagreed with that. So I did 10 years at my old company, and for the last 5 I just moaned some more. And I thought, there's just a better way of doing this. But it meant completely reinventing what that business model would look like.
Okay.
And no one had ever done it in our sector. So our sector had just been dominated by corporates, all doing the same thing. There was no focus on people, there was no focus on environmental impacts in terms of product, in terms of logistics, because ultimately we're in the logistics game. It's about moving stuff around, okay? And it was basically sell anything to anyone at any price. That was the kind of model, right? So I got so disenchanted with it, and I reached that kind of age where I just thought, I can't do this anymore, it's just going to kill me, there's no fulfillment. But I'm quite good at what I do, I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
There were elements of the job that I loved doing, and that was meeting people and solving problems, right? So I thought, this is it, I've either got to sort of go and do something else, or I've got to go and do it myself. So I set Reading Cup, and I set Reading Cup as a purpose-driven business. So if you're not familiar with the terms of ESG or purpose-driven business,
Tell us what is ESG?
Environment and social governance. So it's all about how you frame your business and how you look at everything beyond just shareholder value.
Yeah.
So a typical business in our sector would be, we want to make money and we want to sell more. That's it. That's the only dynamic to it. That's
So
it.
shareholder
value.
is
Yeah,
basically
that's what it is. And I said, why don't we do this differently? Why don't we look at how we capture people, planet, profit, all in equal measure, and drive a business forward with our equal focus on those three points, right? So that was never going to be easy, because I don't know if anyone can remember, you're probably all too young, but if anyone can remember 2008, that's when I set the business up.
Yep.
That's as the world went into global recession.
Yep.
So not only was that a ridiculous idea
Yep.
in the first place, but also I was going to go into a market, a saturated market, that and put out a new business model. So it was stupid all round, really.
Okay.
So it was a global recession. I wanted to run a business in a different way that wasn't just focused on price. It was focused on value add. So it was ridiculous. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous, and a bit like what you were just saying there. It's like these journeys are never easy, but we stuck to it. We had a real definite idea of what a business could look like, and we never deviated from that. So no matter how hard it got, we said we're never going to change. We're not going to shortcut it. We're not going to bring loads of salespeople in and start selling things. We're going to stick to what we set out to do, no matter how hard that is. And I don't know if that was just me being like super stubborn. I don't know what it was. I didn't want to fail, but I didn't want to give up either.
So how did you get your first customer?
Well, it was a very kind of calculated approach. So instead of having that kind of scattergun of take anyone on at any price and sell them anything, it was like, who do we think will really get what we're talking about? And you've got to bear in mind, like my focus was on the green agenda. So this is 2008. The world was nowhere near where it is today.
Yeah.
So ESG, sustainability is like driving the city at the moment. Right? So we've got big clients in the city. It's the highest priority in everyone's agenda. But back in 2008, it wasn't. And this fast delivery model, like stationery next day, we didn't do it. We were like, you're not having it next day. Why do you need stationery next day? It's not like a sort of, you're not moving blood around the country or like an organ. It's like pens and paper. Surely you can be better.
Yeah, but graphic designers need pen tails, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everyone does need stationery next day, so it turns out.
Yeah.
We were saying, look, there's a better way of doing it. And we're going to evidence how you can run your business better, how you can be more efficient, and how we can help you do that part. So it was a case of looking at clients and saying, who's going to get what we're doing, and then start, bolting one after another. So it was all about slow growth. It wasn't quick growth. It was never about sales targets. It's about long term. Can we inspire change in a whole sector? Not can I just build a company? Can I change a sector? That was how ambitious I was back then. Stupid as well. So yeah.
So it's almost like creating a movement for change.
Yeah.
It's like in an industry sector that you wouldn't even be talking about it.
It was horrific. And
So there was no like trade
horrific.
press commentary on it or anything like that?
No.
Because they didn't know what it was?
No, absolutely not.
So how did you, this is the bit that's kind of interesting to all of us at lots of levels, I guess, is go from one customer that got it to, well, the theme of this session, retaining that customer.
Yeah. Well,
How did that?
it was all about how do we add value, really, right? So instead of just saying we sell stationery, it's like how do we do so much for our clients so that they really get what we're doing and they really get value. So anyone can do transactional sales, right? You can go, they sell stationery, you sell it, you buy it, you pay me. But how do we do more? How do we really get under our customers' skin? And that was by building a whole host of like USPs. So we started building loads and loads of value adds for our clients. And of course my focus was the green agenda when I set the company up, so that was a real inspiration. We were in the doldrums for about 6 years, we didn't really know where we were going, we didn't get much traction. And then we found B Corp. So B Corp, if you don't know anything about B Corp, we're going to put it up on the slides. It's a great movement. It's a fully encompassing kind of certification around ESG, the formal ESG package. And we found B Corp and it inspired us. We found other people that were thinking like we were thinking. Obviously we found customers, but we found inspiration and we found people that got what we were talking about, because actually most people didn't. Most people sort of framed me as some sort of eco warrior, I think I was called once by one of my competitors, which I still live by today, right? I'm happy with that.
Tin pot eco warrior.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, yeah, it's great. And so it was important for us to kind of follow that agenda, build USPs and really get integral with our customers. And of course that goes back to my initial ideas and purposes, where it's like, how do we go and sit and talk to people? How do we really get to know what their problems are or what they want? Because everyone just assumed that your customers wanted cheap stationery next day, but actually when you talk to them, they don't necessarily. It's all these kind of preconceived ideas and these kind of antiquated ideas around procurement that force an industry never to change. And actually, everyone's too scared to change. No one wanted to step out and say, let's do it differently, because they were scared that those stupid USPs of fast and cheap were the only things they had. But we thought, if we build 20 USPs, it's going to really cement us in with our customers. And everyone here will know, if you've got customers, it's far easier to keep the customers you've got than to go and find 20 new customers, right? So you've got to do as much as you can for those customers. And then, and a way of defending your own business as well is if you have 20 USPs, if one of your competitors goes into them and says, right, we're going to be 20% cheaper than Reading, the client will say, okay, that's great. Okay, it's great that you can do a cost saving. But Reading do 20 things over here. Can you do those? And can you still be 20% cheaper? And if you can't, we're not interested. So we built this kind of almost like survival mechanism into it as well.
The hedgehog concept.
Yeah.
I think business schools they call it that.
Yeah. So that found B Corp, and that kind of, took us down a whole new level of kind of progress, pace. So we've been reporting carbon since 2016, both internally and to our clients. So if you think about my sector, and actually a lot of net zero strategies at the moment, most people are talking about what they're going to be doing from now. So they're saying, okay, in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Well, our story can tell you what we've been doing for the last 16 years, but actually for the last 10 we've been reporting carbon, and that's really unique. It's really hard to find that certainly within our sector.
So was that one of the first, of the 20, was that one of the first things to actually report your own carbon as a marketing
absolutely.
tactic?
Yeah, it was all about our sort of own progress and growth, about how we understand how we can be even better than we thought we were, and B Corp gave us those tools to really do that. But of course it gave us an edge, it gave us that kind of real leadership position, made us an authority in what we were doing. but actually it gave us a competitive advantage. So although we talk about purpose, and everything I've ever done is about purpose, we're in commercial business, we've got to make money, and so you've got to have a competitive edge, and you've got to look after your customers. Those things don't change no matter how big or small your customer is, your company is.
So just to give people a kind of like picture of how you've done this, there's been a movement that is, you've been pioneering, did all the early work to position yourselves. Now you're from the call we had a couple of weeks ago when we first talked, you're dealing with like household name corporates, right? So big management consultancies, sort of like PwCs, those type of businesses. And you're doing this from Littlehampton?
Absolutely,
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, we've disrupted our industry, and disruptive is a bit of one of those kind of words where we sort of use it a bit too freely, but we have ultimately disrupted our industry. So we 5 years ago we went in for a massive tender in the city, PwC. They had never had a company of our kind of size or our makeup in any of their tenders, but it showed how their thinking was changing as well, not just how we were thinking. And all the sort of global corporates were in this company, in this tender. And we are basically a micro business in Littlehampton, right? So there's a few of us, well, there's a few more of us now, but there's a few of us. And probably the next size up in terms of capacity was another independent company that was turning over 70 million.
Right.
So it was like a different world. It's like David and Goliath, right? So we entered this tender. We went through sort of 6 or 7 presentations. We went on for 15 months, and everyone that was speaking to me said, "You're literally mad. What are you doing? You've got no relationship with these people. Just sack it. Call it a day. You're never going to win it." And on paper, we should never even have been there. But I absolutely felt that they got what I was talking about. From day one, they got what I was saying, and we were aligned with how they wanted to move forward as a company. And so that went on, and we ended up winning it, and it was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. It caused absolute disarray in our sector because people were like, "Who on earth is this company?" I mean, we displaced a corporate giant that had been in there for 20 years. We shifted them out, and we're a micro business. So it was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal what we achieved, and it goes to show that that kind of being different. Is the way forward. It's not about being the biggest, and it's not about being the best, because being the best is subjective. The best for you, for your customers, whatever. It's about being different. And if you ever read the story of the guy that founded Who Gives a Crap, the toilet paper, his words are, the way to success is to be different. And our strapline is positively different. And from day one, we have never conformed to what the stationery industry told us to conform to. We've always done it differently, and that's where it's led us today. And this is not my words, because I obviously write my own script. But we've got the most progressive ESG proposition in the whole of the UK in our sector by an absolute country.
And you've got the evidence to back it up.
Absolutely, yeah. We're the first company globally to have in our sector to have our science-based targets verified.
And what does that actually mean to?
Well, it's about carbon decarbonisation. So it's about putting forward a case.
Numbers.
I would say it's science-based. So it's how you are going to decarbonise over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. But as a micro business in Littlehampton, we're the first company in our sector globally to have that done. So, but it wouldn't have been possible if we didn't start where we started. All those little moves, all those little things, all those little ideas. And to bring it around to sort of relevance today, it was all about being creative. Everything we did was about not just selling, it was about how do we be creative in how we approach our customers, and how do we give them something alternative to talk about.
Right, that's it. That's really interesting, putting it that way, something alternative to talk about. Because it's now not alternative at all. No, like you say, it's mainstream agenda, top of the list for big companies in the city. So are you still working with PwC?
Yeah, absolutely. We've just won a massive law firm. We work with Magic Circle law firms. Our growth for the last 6 years has been an average of 28.7% in a sector that's on its arse, quite frankly. Because COVID smashed our industry to pieces. We lost wholesalers, we lost other dealers. Amazon, but we've had 28.7% growth on average over the last 6 years, which includes COVID. So it's a phenomenal story, and a lot of it's just luck. Because the world has changed to see things how we saw things. That ESG proposition is absolutely vital.
It's not luck, that's creating luck. But no, I think seriously, it's synchronicity is what it is. It's not serendipity. It's I genuinely believe this. And if anybody's read The Artist's Way, you'll know about synchronicity from chapter 4. But no, true. The point is, if you do something you believe in with conviction, which you have from day one, that you're betting that the world's going to catch up with you at some point.
Yeah, we always saw it as a bit like net zero. You start here, and there's a big void. But as we go forward together with net zero, it's all about us all coming together, technology coming in from the sides, and it's all getting to where we need to be. And Reading was always about that. It's like the success will never be in the early days; it will come later down the line once we've got traction. And I did a huge talk to the whole of actually it was an Office Products International conference in London last week, and I was one of the keynote speakers. And the title of my session was how to sell more office supplies without talking about selling office supplies. Because actually we never talk about selling stationery. So it's almost irrelevant to what we do in a way. Although it's the product we sell, it's actually about companies coming on our journey, us aligning with their mission. And I pitched to KPMG 3-4 months ago. Got to the end of an hour and they said to me, are you ever going to talk about selling stationery? No, not if I can help it. I'm not really interested in that, but how can I help you? How can we align our ESG strategies and stuff like that? So
on ESG, just let's pull that apart a bit. So the environmental bit, you get that green champion. Tell us a bit more about the S. What does that mean in terms of your business?
It's just
S is social.
Social, yeah. So it's really like everything. I mean, being a part of a B Corp has 5 strands of governance,
right?
And so that sort of covers it in there. And it's how you look at everything you do and the impact it has on everything. And that goes back down to that kind of triple bottom line business model. So people have profit, and you then break it into all different sections. So you're looking at the social element and the impact you have on social elements. So, but you can wrap it into the green as well. So when we do tree planting, for example, and there's a social side to tree planting. It provides work days, it provides safe environments for people to work and fair pay, all those kind of things. So it's how you wrap everything around to social. It's the community, we employ people from the community in Southampton. Everyone actually lives within about 5 miles of where we work, and we've done that on purpose. And then it's the impact we have through our clients and their stuff and their communities.
Okay, so get the social bit, the governance bit is, in my kind of idealised mindset, this is like, is this business like a democratic organisation where if they want, the workers can vote you out?
Yeah, they probably would. I was talking to Lucy about that earlier. So the governance side of it is really complex as well, because it's not just governance of yourself, it's governance of how you do your business as well. So the governance side of B Corp, for example, is that as a B Corp we have to change our articles of incorporation. So as a business you have articles of incorporation and you have to change that to say you're going to run your business as a B Corp. So that's fairly significant, right? That's saying that I'm bound now to carry on running my business in the way that it follows the B Corp protocol.
And what exactly are those things that you report on? Is it like doing an annual return for your business company's house? Are you doing an equivalent reporting
for B Corp
exercise?
B Corp's really rigorous. Has anyone done B Corp impact assessment?
Townsquare company.
Townsquare, yeah, of course, yeah. So it's worth having a look at. Actually, I'd recommend everyone looks at it. So you don't have to. So it's called the B Corp impact assessment. It's an impact assessment in terms of you will start going through. If you say yes to some questions, it will open up other questions, and it works on those principles. And it's built into 5 strands. So you've got governance, you've got community, you've got customers, environmental, it's worth everyone looking at just to see how complex running a B Corp business is, but also at what level you need to be at to say you're a B Corp and actually where the world is looking in terms of that due diligence. Because the thing we found about B Corp was it was how do we tell everyone how good we're doing without us telling everyone how good we're doing. It's quite easy for me to sit here saying, we're a really good company, but we needed someone else to kind of verify that. And B Corp does that because it's such a rigorous accreditation. It sort of turns you upside down, shakes you a few times, and you can't hide from it. So they want to know the pay scales from the top to the bottom in the company, things like that. And some people aren't going to be happy doing that. You have to be transparent about everything. So it's worth everyone looking at it. You don't have to become a B Corp, but you can still do the BIA. Just follow it through and see what sort of
assessment.
It's brilliant. It's really good.
Excellent. I'm conscious of the food coming in shortly. So where you're at now,
Yeah.
just to kind of wrap it up, for creative businesses, for small creative businesses, this is about defining, like you said, an alternative edge, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's no reason why a design studio,
Yep.
a video production company,
Yep.
an artist operating in a public environment couldn't adopt some of these principles and even become a B Corp ultimately.
No, definitely not. I mean, there's quite a big B Corp in Brighton. Naturally, there's quite a few B Corps in Brighton's full of creatives as well. So, Drift Time. I don't know if anyone knows Drift Time. They're a creative agency in Brighton. They're fairly sort of Propeller Net as well. Propeller Net is one of our net zero champions.
Yeah.
So there's a big movement in Brighton. Naturally, you would imagine B Corp would be quite prominent in a sort of community like that. Surprisingly, it's not as prevalent as it should have been perhaps in the early days. I mean, we were the first B Corp in our sector. Again, we were way ahead of our time. 2016 we first certified.
Okay.
It's a long time ago, isn't it? It's a huge
the
amount
world's
of time.
changed quite a lot.
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I think what I'm talking about today is that firstly anything is possible. Really, if you stick to your guns and you really commit to that drive, where it comes from inside, and it's not just about how do we look at sales figures. I mean, you've got to get customers, you've got to get customer loyalty and things like that. But I think what we've done is we've always added that benefit, that sort of value add, and we've wrapped our customers up in cotton wool like you'd never believe. I mean, our service proposition is ridiculous. We've got like an SLA to answer emails in 15 minutes. And it sounds silly, but like whenever we talk to new customers, they're always like, oh, no one ever gets back to us. No one ever gets back to us.
Right.
We want to make sure that customers can get to us. We reply, even if it's a holding email, and say we'll come back to you on it. So they know they can just get rid of that job and we put it.
Yeah.
So it's all the minutiae of that obsessive stuff that I worry about.
Yeah, right.
How do we get these customers on board and how do we look after them forever? Because we've had customers that came on board in the early days and they're still with us now. That's 16 years in a really terrible sector.
Yeah.
It's almost unheard of. To have a
And it's not about price.
and it's not about price, absolutely not. And just to quickly highlight that even more, when we do key customer reviews. Okay, so with our big corporates, we go in every quarter and we do a review. And this will identify how much the world has changed. Once upon a time, those reviews would just be with procurement, and now they're with ESG as well. So these companies have got so much focus on it that they're bringing ESG people into these reviews, and actually the power they have is far greater than procurement. Because if it doesn't align to the ESG strategy of the company, it doesn't matter how cheap it is or how quickly you get it there. And so for me, that's the kind of golden ticket. I mean, I would never imagine when I set my business up in 2008 that I would be having those conversations in a room with people from ESG. I mean, it's a dream come true. It literally is.
Yeah.
But I don't think our story is any different to the creative model. We've just got to be different, commit to something being a bit different, look after customers.
And I think what you said right at the beginning is about being authentic as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
In terms of what you believe in, having the confidence to go with it. And I thought actually that when you were describing it, the word that came to mind for me was being brave. Because going against orthodoxy does take bravery and
or
stupidness.
Stupidness.
You said stupid. I thought, actually, no, you're really brave because it's hard to go against the grain, isn't it? And that's standing out, like you say, in a crowded market. It's really hard to do. There's lots of businesses locally, particularly if you go from here to Brighton. How many search marketing businesses are going to meet? It's tons. And it's not because it's not a good thing to do. It's just that there are very relatively low barriers to entry. And what you've done is you've put barriers to entry around you doing it in a different way. So, for another business to compete with you head on, it's like nigh impossible, right? Yeah,
and when I started, there was probably 4,000 people doing what I do in the UK. So it's not only is it a crack market, it's saturated. Absolutely saturated. So you've got to do it differently. If you just do it the same, you're going to win and lose customers the same way you're going to do it all the time. But by being different, it gave us that edge, and then obviously it gave us that creative thinking space to just keep pushing boundaries to the point now where we've got so many things going on in our company that anyone could go to our accounts and they would be very unlikely to be able to get them off them. I mean, I sit on internal sustainability forums and groups for some of the biggest law firms in the UK, and I'm just some guy that sells stationery. This doesn't make any sense, does it? But it's a hard thing to come up against.
Yeah.
If I phone someone and they said, "Oh well, yeah, the guy that owns the company's on our internal sustainability panel," you'd be like, "Okay, I'll call you back another time then." It's good for that kind of stickiness with customers again.
Yeah. So the big message in this is to retain customers, is be different, be authentic, be brave, and be stupid.
I'd start with be stupid first.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you so much. The food is arriving. We've got a few notices, and before I come to those, any questions for Adam? You're going to be here until 2. Right? Happy to chat with everyone. Any questions from? Go for it, Thomas.
I have a question. You painted a very kind of positive, inspiring, uplifting story of your business. My question would be, did you have any downsides while running the business for 16 years? Where you ever been at the point where it's like, it's not working, I should not be doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. 2015, I sat there with my hands in my head at my office and just thought, I just don't think anyone's going to get this. 2015 was like just the doldrums for us, because any hope of the green agenda post 2008, when the world recession hit, had gone. So that early conversations pre-2008 were there, they'd gone, and it was all about gone back to cost. Companies were shrinking, they were getting rid of staff, cutting out the deadwood as they called it in the tabloids. And I just thought, I just don't think people care enough. Ultimately, they might give you lip service, but do they really care? And that was at the stage really where I just thought this is probably never going to work. I just don't think we can get the scale or the traction we needed. But then we entered some industry awards and we won them, which was quite unusual, because we went to them with obviously a completely new business model, and the panel said to me, Adam, we don't really know how you're still in business, which was quite nice, but we went on and won them. But we also found B Corp, and a B Corp, I don't want to sort of be too evangelical about B Corp, but B Corp for me was pivotal, because I found CEOs of companies, I found people in companies, I found companies that were operating from beyond profit. And these were really influential people, these were big companies.
And in stationery?
No, not in stationery, these were just across in all other sectors. And I found people that were running their businesses the same way, and it just gave me that kind of glimmer of hope that, that it could work and that people could get it. So I did have some dark days, which is why it's nice to tell my story now, because I went through some sort of pretty grim times, but by sticking to what the principles were, we came through it. Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah. Stupid.
Brilliant. Any other questions? Okay, right. In that case, I'm going to do the notices very quickly. In fact, we have a notice board this month. So yes, announcements, plural. Not just selling the Thrive course, which is almost full. Just wanted to mention Let's Go Net Zero. So Lucy will be here to talk about it, as will Adam. If anybody's interested in getting involved, finding out. It's kind of parallel initiative really, isn't it, to what we're doing here. It's just got the focus on environment, social and governance. So there's some links here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share the slides, because there's quite a few links, so I'll send an email out with follow-up with a PDF with all the links, so don't worry about writing them down. SME Climate Hub is something Adam and I were talking about. I said, what's one takeaway resource that people might pick up on that they could put in place straight away? You could look at this and get some valuable tools and resources. And obviously B Corp was mentioned, so a B Corporation is kind of what it's ultimately about. That's the address there. So in addition to that, I just wanted to add a new feature, recommended reading. There we are. So, my first question to Adam was, donut economics, how does that sit in the mix of all this? So has anybody read Donut Economics? No. It's a very, very interesting thing. 2008, Kate Rayworth, an economist, The Crash, Economic Orthodoxy, what a load of old baloney. And I would agree, having got an A-level and a degree in government, politics and economics. Coming out the other side of that and just went, none of that makes any sense. Never thought it did anyway. But Donut Economics is an amazing book. It's really accessible, and the idea of the donut is very, very simple. The outer ring is the environmental ceiling. The inner ring is the social foundation. So the safe space for people, planet and profit is to live inside the ring. And that is basically the idea of a model that's been adopted by the UN and all sorts of organisations. So if you were to read that, become a B Corp, my gosh, you'd be pretty much future-proofed and in the right place. So there's a few links on here, which one is a literally short form, great resource by the way, 1 page, sums a book up in 1 page. Donut Economics has an action lab with loads of downloadable resources, so similar to Net Zero. Let's go Net Zero, you'll be able to pick up case studies and those kind of things. And there's also a link to where you can buy it on Amazon or elsewhere. Do you sell books? No. Okay, so in addition to recommended reading, Creative Hub Coordinator is actually a vacancy, so an adjacent initiative. In fact, this is a 2-year project. The Creative Catalyst, Coastal Catalyst is an Arts Council funded initiative which runs from Hastings to Bognor Regis, and it is essentially about upskilling young people in preparation for careers in creative industries. So the organisers I'm working very closely with actually in Brighton and in Newhaven and Eastbourne, and they're looking for a coordinator to be based here in Bognor and to work out of the Phoenix Centre. It's a 3-day-a-week job and it's open right now, and so I'm here on the cell on their behalf. So if you do, anybody here is interested, or if you know anybody that's interested, you can find out more.
No, seriously, Jim, where's the Phoenix Centre?
It is part of the Regis School, so that way.
It's just off Westlock Lane.
Okay.
That way.
I'm not familiar with it, so.
Apparently, really well equipped resource in terms of venue and all sorts of tech recording. There may even be a podcast studio there.
Possibly.
It's something we talked about. I've only learned about this last week, so just thinking of you. So yeah, if you're interested, that's in the notes, which I'll share. And those that are on the Thrive programme, we've been trialling this idea of having a mailing list, and we haven't really kicked it off yet, but the Thrive programme I'll come to in a minute. If you want to join the mailing list, it is pretty simple. ACD plus subscribe, send it to @groups.io and it will send you instructions and you can join. Now the reason I mention this is because I'm on a similar list in Hastings and have been for 15 years, and it's got 1,000 people on it. And if you're launching anything creative, like an exhibition, a show, or you're looking for staff, or you've got a part-time job role, or you're offloading some lino cutting equipment, or a portable kiln I saw last week, it's that kind of resource. So creating something here of that nature may well be useful. We'll try it, see what happens. Okay, so last thing is about Flourish events. December, it's not far away, so do sign up for the December one. We're doing it a bit earlier. We usually tend to do this like this towards the end of the month, but with Christmas parties and the rest of it coming, Arcade Lounge, 12th of December, so another lunchtime one. And the theme is products versus services. So Juliet Sabar runs Brighton Zoo, which is a business that makes TV shows for kids, and she pivoted that out of doing a service-based business. So she now sells IP and gets the BBC to pay for using her stuff rather than to bid for contracts, different way around. So interesting way to pivot a business. Okay, and then Thrive programme. Now we've left this open Jan to March for one reason, which is the District Council have asked us to put in a bid for some extra money. So we've said, maybe we'll expand the scope of the second cohort. So if you do know, I know most people here have either been on cohort 1 or have registered interest in cohort 2. There's no guarantees, but we could possibly accommodate 1 or 2 more. So you are very welcome to apply. If you know of anyone that might benefit, it's 8 hours spread over 8 weeks. There's 1 week in between for half term in February, but there's 3 hours of mentoring, 3 masterclasses, and a couple of group sessions, one at the beginning, one at the end. That is pretty much it. So, thank you very much. If you could fill in the feedback survey, it's really helpful for us to report whether this is a valuable use of your time or not. Or whether there's anything that you'd like us to add, that's all really welcomed as well.